Part 2 of making my Irish friend Maura guess how much medical services cost in America. The price of an x-ray. You break a bone, you have to get an x-ray.
Like $100.
Anywhere from $210 to $1,000. Now say that bone is broken bad enough to where you need surgery. Guess how much that surgery will cost you?
Well, surgery's expensive.
Yeah.
Even in Ireland, so like $2.5 grand?
Final answer?
$2,000?
Anywhere from $17,000 to $35,000.
I don't have the money in my bank account.
It's always interesting to see how people outside of the United States react when they learn more about our healthcare system. You can see that here. She's shocked when she hears about the cost of some routine procedures here in the United States. And there's a lot of people on the right and then the moderate wing of the Democratic Party who insist that the cost of care in the United States is high because you get a better quality of care. And that's just not true. You're paying more here because we have a private health insurance system. No other developed country in the world has that. Everyone has a public option, except us. And that can lead to really devastating consequences, and we'll get to that in a second. But we really need to talk about just how bad our system is first. Over 100 million Americans, and that's around 44% of the adult population in the US, struggle to pay for medical care. And again, that's something that's basic, that you need. You need to live. You need to live a healthy life. That's not something you should ever be in a situation where you struggle to afford. And again, developed countries around the world understand that, but the profit motive here in our greedy private insurance system stands in the way. As a result, people have had to resort to skipping treatment, skipping medication, and in some cases skipping meals just to afford healthcare. How broken are we? Tens of millions of people can't even afford health insurance. Beyond that, tens of millions of people don't even have health insurance. They're not lucky enough to have it through their job, and they can't afford plans on the marketplace. So they're just left to pay out of pocket for everything. And when you're in that situation, you oftentimes just neglect getting care altogether because it's either that or spiral into bankruptcy. No civilized nation should ever subject people living there to that. Yet we do. And that's really brutal because the costs are so high, which is what this video points out. We spend more per capita on healthcare than any other developed nation. We spend so much it accounts for 20% of our GDP. That's great if you're a health insurance CEO, but that's terrible if you're somebody who is struggling and needs care. These companies make billions off the backs of people who desperately need help. And that's disgusting. And that's really bad at a time of COVID. Around a third of all COVID deaths and around 40% of all infections in the United States were linked to not having health insurance. Because tens of millions of people lost their jobs because of the pandemic, some of them couldn't afford to get insurance either through Cobra or in the marketplace. So they were left to fend for themselves at a time when people around the world needed medical care. As a consequence, that has led to a decline in life expectancy in the United States. The United States is now about to fall out of the top 50 countries in life expectancy.
I came across this tweet and I thought I should share. The United States will soon drop out of the top 50 nations in terms of life expectancy. Every country above us has a public option for health insurance of a publicly funded healthcare system. Not some, not most, but every single one.
It started to downtrend a little bit before the pandemic because of deaths of despair. And that's when people end up dying or taking their lives as a result of poverty, addiction, substance abuse, things like that. But when you add COVID into the mix, it gets so much worse, and it's plummeted over the past couple of years. I don't know what people who are still on the fence about a single-payer system need to see. When millions of people are dying as a result of a lack of health insurance, when people are being price gouged by greedy private insurance companies, and when people are left to fend for themselves at a time where there's a moral obligation to look out for people around them, if they don't see the imperative to implement a Medicare for all system in the United States now, they never will.